Very good. We're on.
17th of April, Rabbi Levitt, Gemora.
I don't know.
So, okay, so we are we're up to V'im Isa Tahavami Ka'aveda. Go from there. We have a Rashi on this. Yeah. Rashi has a little bit different words, but Rashi Dimamasco Tahave Nami Ka'aveda. It's the fourth line from the bottom of and the wide lines in the bottom in Rashi.
Okay, I'm just saying, it's also like an Aveda, dynamic Aveda. It should be considered like an Aveda, which is the words. If you're at the right spot, that is the words in the Gemara.
Oh,
The lake,
I see. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
the Leka Natina, because there isn't a giving. Vahave Tanas, and there is a claim, Hashvia, to swear on it. Chayev kefil, and make him chayev kefil. Double. The key tavu, and if they make a claim, the Heshu Gadol, the claim is made when he's now not a katan anymore. L'chayev, to make him chayev. L'chayich, since shvua, it is a shvua, I guess, when he's a gadol, ukafela, and therefore it should be double. Afal gab the natina leka, even though he's not a he didn't give it as a even though he didn't give it, as an adult, he only gave it as a katan.
Okay, now what we have to clarify which of the cases is Rav Barmamel making his point on over here.
I'm not with you. We're Roy, can you tell me where we are in the art scroll?
Okay, sorry. I think we jumped in here in the middle. Oh, you don't even know where the place is.
I think I missed something in the last year, and I don't know where we are.
Okay, so yesterday we basically what we did yesterday is we had the statement of Rav Chia bar Abba, the name of Rabbi Yochanan, that Ton Tain is Ganav Ba'aveda, it pays kefil.
What page are we on?
Oh, well, this is 13 lines from the bottom of 106b.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Rav Chia bar Abba. Said in the name of Rav Yochanan. Okay, I see it. Thank you.
Okay, so according to Rabbi Yochanan, somebody who finds a lost article and then he's confronted by the owner of the article, what's he doing with that article? So he defends himself by saying it was stolen from him. And then then witnesses come along and say that no, he has it actually in his possession. So for swearing falsely, and by the way, he swore to his claim. And so now when he's disproven by the witnesses, he's going to pay kefil. So that's the case of Toan Tanis Ganav. He's making a taina of Geneva, that the article that he found was stolen from him. When he's disproven, he pays kefil. So now, Rav Arbar Mamel is asking a kasha on the din of Rabbi Yochanan based upon the brisa that we learned yesterday, that has two cases, basically, two basic cases. We'll call them two basic cases. The two basic cases are the two basic cases are case of pikadon. You have somebody who deposits an item for safekeeping by the custodian, and then he demands it back, and he makes in Bezdin. So there's the time of the giving over the article for safekeeping, and then there's the time of the tfiyah in the Bezdin. So the brisa says that based upon the hekesh in the between the two psukim, we have to say that the only case where the depositor can force the custodian to swear is when he was a gadol at the time, not only of the tfiyah in Bezdin, but he was also a gadol at the time of the giving over the item, and therefore, even if he was a gadol at the time of the tfiyah, if he was a katan at the time of the giving over, so that case is the guy, the custodian does not need to answer him. He doesn't need to swear. Can't be forced to swear. He can't be forced to swear, and therefore there will be no din kefil. So that's what we see from that brisa. So Rav Bar Mamel asks him, Rabbi Yochanan, in Isa, if that would be like what you say, Rabbi Yochanan, that even a finder of a lost item could be forced by the owner to swear and pay kefil if he swore falsely. So why would the case of the giving over by the katan not be able to force the custodian to swear? To have a nami ka'aveda. Let that case also be like the case of aveda. And that's what Rashi's saying. What's the comparison? Because we got three cases over here. We have the giving over of the item by a gadol, and then we have by a katan, and then we have the third case, which is Rabbi Yochanan's case, where the guy finds the item. It wasn't given over to him; he found it. So Rabbi Bar Mamel is asking on Rabbi Yochanan, if you, Rabbi Yochanan, maintain that even in the case where the guy finds it, the owner can force him to swear to defend himself as to the whereabouts of the item that he found, he wasn't even given over to it at all by anybody, then surely it can be surely that the case of the katan giving over can be no worse than the case of the finder who wasn't given it over at all by anybody. If you say that even without any giving over whatsoever, he could be forced to swear, Rabbi Yochanan, then why if that's what you say? So why would the brisa say? How could the brisa say that when the katan gives it over, oh, it's not good enough to force him to swear? That's the kasha. In other words, according to Rabbi Yochanan's ruling, the brisa should not say that there's a distinction between the giving over a katan and the giving over of a gadol. We know from what Yochanan says himself that there doesn't need to be any giving over at all. So the giving over a katan should be no worse than the finding of the item without any giving over at all. And according to Rabbi Yochanan, that guy has to swear. So that's Rav Bar Mamel's kasha. Im Isa, if it would be like what you say, Rabbi Yochanan, to havi nami kaveda. Let the case of the brisa that says that the katan can't force him to swear, because in sinus katan eno klum, let it be no worse than the case of your case of aveda, in which you maintain that the one that finds it does have to swear. Okay.
Does it make any difference in the case of the finder if the owner of the object is a katan?
Okay, so
the katan can't own anything, can he?
Well, I mean, if a 9-year-old boy loses something that is his and somebody finds it, then what are you saying, Roy, that the 9-year-old boy doesn't own it?
I don't know, but I think I'm not too sure if there is such a ruling.
The reason I'm asking,
It belongs to his father.
the reason I'm asking is because in order to make, it seems to me, in order to make the two cases parallel, you have to consider who is the claimant. In the case of the deposit, the claimant is the depositor, and we care whether he's a katan or not. In the case of the aveda, the claimant is the person who lost it. And so I'm asking, do we care if he's a katan or not?
well, the point that Rashi is making over here is that in the case of the aveda, there's no nesina whatsoever. So how could that case be better than the nesina of a katan?
Nesina means the giver,
Giving over.
right? I'm saying that the person who lost it is in the position of being the giver.
Even if you say that the owner of the aveda is a gadol, but still there's no giving over in that case. And so if the problem with the katan giving over is because if a katan gives over, it's not called he gave over anything. So why should it be any? Why should the case of the gadol who lost something be better? He didn't give over anything either. So who cares whether he's a gadol? It's irrelevant. There was no nesina. And the Brisa says very clearly that what we need is a nesina. And the nesina of the katan is lav klum. The giving over of a katan cannot force a shvua. Why? Because there's no giving over. It's not called the giving over of anything. Very good. So if so, then how does Rabbi Yochanan get off saying that he could force the owner of the lost object can force the finder to make a shvua? There was no giving over. Even if he's a gadol, so what? There's no giving over.
Who cares if there's giving over or not? Why is that relevant?
That's what the Brisa says. The Brisa clearly says that the reason why it's no good is because since it's a katan, so his giving over is not called giving over. Whereas the giving over of a gadol is called he gave it over. And somebody who as a gadol gave it over, so now he has a koach to make a claim in Bezdin and force the person that he makes the claim to swear against him.
Well, in the case of an aveda, why would the person who found it have to swear?
That's Rav Abba bar Mamo's question. Why does he have to swear? There was no giving over.
Right. Well, I'm saying, is there a case where he would have to swear? If
Rav Yochanan says he has to swear. That's why he has to pay kefil.
so, if I find an object that belongs to Phil, and Phil hears about it, he fears that I have it. I have his item. So he takes me to Beis Din, and he says, "Give me my item." And I say, "I don't have it." And Phil says, "Swear you don't have it." Do I have to swear?
According to Rav Yochanan,
Okay. Now, what if Phil's a cotton? Do I have to swear?
we didn't see it that Rav Yochanan made any distinction between a katan or a gadol.
Okay, then I think it's parallel.
Okay. Okay, so now that's the question that we have right now from Rav Abba bar Mamel. According to what it says in this brisa, there's a kasha on Rabbi Yochanan. Why does he have to swear?
So Rabbi Yochanan says in the case of the lost object, he has to swear.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's implied by the fact that he holds that the person pays kefil. The one that makes the claim that it was stolen from him and he's proven false, he has to pay kefil. Why does he have to pay kefil? Must be because he was forced to make a shvua.
Right.
Must be that he can be forced to make a shvua. If he can be if he is obligated to make a shvua, so then he's going to pay kefil if he's disproven. And if he could be forced to make a shvua, so then why is the case of the giving over of a katan any worse? Why is the fact that his giving over is not regarding as giving over of anything? Why is that? Why is that mean that he doesn't? The custodian doesn't have to swear. In the case of the Aveda, he had to swear, even though there was no giving over whatsoever. Okay. Okay, so now the Gemora answers. Amar Le, back in the Gemora. Roy, want to read? Roy already read. So Lou, please.
Okay, so we're at Amar Rabbi Chia.
Yeah, Amar Le. Yeah.
You're at the top of 106b5.
106b at the top. Amar Le. He said to him, that is, Rav Chia bar Abba said to Rav Abba bar Mamo, Hacha b'mayaskinen. What are we dealing with here? Igon she'achalu hishehu katan. For example, where the guardian consumed it when he was a minor.
Well, the depositor was.
What?
Because it was while the depositor was yet a minor. Yeah.
Let's see. The custodian, the guardian consumed the deposited article while the depositor was a minor.
Hmm.
The depositor was a minor. Okay, I see.
When it says consumed, does he mean eaten it or something? Something
I
that
think so, because the word is achal, which is to eat.
Hmm. Hmm.
Aval kishehu gadol mai. But if the custodian consumed it when the depositor was an adult, the custodian consumed it when the depositor was an adult, what is the law? So
Okay, maybe we, yeah.
I was going to say, so the first case, we're saying he doesn't pay kafel. He consumed it when the depositor was a minor. He doesn't pay kafel. Now we're asking, what if the depositor was a adult? Does he pay kafel? That's the question, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that before we get to that next step, that's really it's not really part of this step. This is we have to understand right now the step of the answer over here of Reb Chia. Reb Chia is defending Reb Yochanan over here, and he is saying that what's the din in the brisa that we're talking about over there, that he doesn't have to swear, the custodian, for the nesina of a katan, kigon she'ochlu keshehu katan, that nesina was given over by a katan, and that the custodian consumed it also while the depositor was still a katan.
Right.
And this is supposed to answer for Rabbi Yochanan and distinguish between this case now of the Nesin of the Katan of the Brisa and the case of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said a case where if a person found it, and he could be forced to swear and have to pay kafel. But what we're saying in the Brisa with the giving over of the katan, the katan cannot force the custodian to swear, and so we said that was difficult because in the case of the Aveda there was no nesina at all in any case. There's no nesina of a gadol in the case of the finding. It makes no difference whether the guy that owned it was a gadol. There was no giving over by a gadol, and according to the Brisa, what we need in order to force the shvua is that there was a giving over by a gadol. So in both of those cases, we don't have a giving over of a gadol. In the case of the giving over a katan, we don't have it. We also don't have it in the case of where the person found the item, even if it belonged to a gadol. There was no giving over of a gadol. That was a kasha. Now, Reb Chia is defending Rabbi Yochanan, so we're making a distinction now between the case of the giving over of the katan in the Brisa and the case of Rabbi Yochanan. And we're saying that what the Brisa is talking about is not only was it given over by a katan, but it was already completely consumed while the one that gave it over is still a katan. Now, what we have to understand is why that's an answer. Before we go to the next step and know what the din is when he would be a gadol, but why does this answer for Rabbi Yochanan over here? Rashi is going to explain us why this is going to answer at this step. So we got a Dibra Maskil Sha'ochlu, 3 lines from the bottom.
That it was eaten. Bava Bayit, the Picadone, the owner for what was eaten was the Bala Bayit, eaten that was for a deposit, but owed Shemafkid Katan, while it was deposited by the Katan. The low you read Picadon Zeh, it doesn't fall the deposit with Torah Tanat into the law of making a claim alone ever. Aval Aveda, if it was a lost object, Mate Lidei. How does it go into his hand? The high chayav that will make him chayav. Shahare. So there is yesh law. Balim. There are owners of this. B'nei ta'anata that are able to make a claim on it. Claimants, so to speak.
Okay, so here we do get into this issue that Lou was mentioning over here about what was the status of the owner of this lost item. What was he a gadol or was he a katan?
Right.
So Rashi is explaining over here that the reason why, in the case of the giving over of the katan, there was no that the custodian can't be forced to make a shvua against the katan, is because not only was it given over by a katan, but even at the point that the article that was deposited was consumed and no longer in the world, at that point the katan that gave it over was still a katan. That's and what's the significance of the fact that he was still a katan at that time? Rashi explains, because what that means is lo yered pikadon zel taras taina me'olam. At no point in the lifetime of this pikadon, in the lifetime of this deposited article, was it ever did it ever enter into the category of an item that a claim could be made upon it? And that is not like the case of the case where the guy found the item, because even though it wasn't given over to him, but Rashi says that aval aveda mechib mataliade, in the case of aveda, from the point that the one that found it came into his hand, at that point that it came into his hand as a lost item, it was already he was already obligated, the finder, to answer for it. Why was he already obligated to answer for it at the time that it came into his hand, even though it wasn't given into his hand by the owner? Because Sharei yesh lo bailim b'nei tanasa. It's enough, says Rashi, that the owner of that lost item, even though he did not give it over to this individual, but he, the owner of the lost item, is someone that you have to answer to, that the finder would have to answer to. Now, presumably, what Rashi means is that he's a gadol, and that he owns the item. And this is the point that Roy was bringing in over here. That a katan, a lost item from a katan, the katan would not be able to force the guy to swear either against him, because the katan is not doesn't have a the katan is not a he's not a bar taina.
Oh, it's Roy answered the question. I just had an epiphany. Roy said his father owned it. There's a difference between the two cases.
Okay.
In the case of an Aveda, you have an object, and Rashi is saying there is an owner. Somewhere in the world, there's an owner. It may not be the 9-year-old boy whose trinket it is.
Okay.
It's his father, but somebody owns that thing for
But
sure.
we could say the same thing about an Aveda, about a katan that gives over too.
No,
It has an owner, according to
he's
that.
the giver. He's the giver. The giver is the katan. In this case, there's no giver. There's just an owner, and the owner has to be an adult. Shkoyach, Roy.
I don't know about that. That doesn't make sense to me.
Isn't that what Rashi's saying when he says there are owners to make a claim? You said presumably the owner is a gadol. I was going to ask you, why do you say that? Maybe he's not a gadol. And then I realized that he has to be a gadol because a katan can't own something.
Okay, so in the case of a lost item, we have someone who owns it who's a gadol.
Right.
But it doesn't make sense to me that since a katan gave over his father's item, that the father would not be able to go into Beis Din and claim the item and force the guy to swear against him. It doesn't make sense to me that the fact that the katan gave it over is going to make now the case worse than a case of Aveda. But okay, at any rate, let's see what the Gemora says. So at least I think we have an understanding now of this step, though. This issue that we're discussing aside, what the point is that Rav Chia is defending Rabbi Yochanan by saying, no, Rabbi Yochanan's case is actually a better case than the case of the giving over the katan. The giving over the katan, we're saying Rashi is concluding that at no time lo yered pikadon zeh l'toras taina me'olam. The responsibility to answer for the whereabouts of this pikadon never came to see the light of day, because it was given over by a katan and it was already consumed while the one that gave it over was still a katan. So therefore Rashi concludes that there was no point in time where there was any obligation for the custodian to have to answer a taina. If he has to answer a taina, he'd have to swear. Since it never became something that was that pikadon never was yered the Taurus taina, he doesn't have to answer. He doesn't have to swear. which is Macha'en Kain in the case of the Aveda, because already at the point where the finder finds it, he's already chayav to answer to the owner of that item, because the owner of that item, says Rashi, there is a yeshla bailim b'nei tanasa. We have to say that in the case of the Aveda, there is a Baal Aveda. There's an owner of that Aveda, and he is a b'nei taina. He's someone who's a b'nei taina. So whether he's a gadol or he's a katan, whether we're not going to get into that right now, but that's basically the answer. And now we can appreciate what the Gemora is going to say in the next step if we have any time. We have 3 minutes. Okay. So the Gemora says, "Aval kashehu gadol mai." If at the time, according to your answer, in other words, this is Rabbi Aru Bar Maimel attempting to slug up the answer that Reb Chia gave. According to you, what you're saying is that if the katan would have already become a gadol at the time that the custodian consumed the deposited item, what would have been the din? Achanami, the mishalem. Would you indeed say that in that case he would be the custodian, be in a position to have to pay kefil, because he would be able to be forced to swear in that case if the katan had already turned into a gadol at the time that the item was consumed? According to your answer, that would come out, right?
Right.
And if so, ihachi, says the Gemara, ihachi. So then our whole brisa, the words of the brisa don't read properly. The brisa should have been written differently. Ihachi adatane ad shetiyeh nesina v'tfiya shavin ke'echad. Rather than have the brisa discuss whether the giving over and the taviyah in Bezdin were equal, meaning that they were both at the time that the depositor was a gadol, as well as at the time of the taviyah. The brisa wouldn't need to say that, according to the answer that you, Rav Chia, are giving. Lisnei, let the brisa say simply, achitye achila utvia shavin ke'echad. Let the brisa simply say, all we need is, we don't need the giving over to be by a gadol. All we need is that the achila should be at the time that the katan has already turned into a gadol, and that would already require the custodian to swear against him, because now, if at that time it was eaten, that the depositor had already become a gadol. So according to your answer, Reb Chia, so the custodian would have to answer to it. It's already he ate it at the time that the deposited item became subject to subject to being answerable. But it doesn't say that. It does not say that. So that's what we're going to conclude with today. We spoke out the back and forth between Reb Chia and Reb Abba Bar Mamel, and we have a Rashi on that, but we don't have time to read the Rashi. Hachanami de Mishalem, we'll have to do that tomorrow.
Okay.
Yasher kochacha, Rabbi. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Yasher koyach to everybody.
All right, we'll see you
We're
tomorrow.
getting into this sugya.
We'll see you tomorrow at the same time as we did twice today.
Be'ezus Hashem, bli neder, as far as I know.
Thank you, Rabbi, for teaching so
Thank you.
much during this time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Koyach.
Bye-bye.
All the best.